What's up, and welcome back to yet another episode of Coach's Corner. Zach Hoskins here, and today we're going to talk about how to have hard conversations, how to make them subjective, different pieces and parts that make them harder, and different ways to make them more subjective and simpler, maybe not easier, but more subjective and simpler. So typically, whenever we need to have a hard conversation with a team member, there's two things that are probably the issue. One, they either aren't the right person, so they don't fit what we stand for, our core values, those types of things, or they aren't in the right seat, meaning they aren't fulfilling the roles and responsibilities, the key results areas of the seats that they're sitting in, or of the seat and or seats that they're sitting in. And so let's take a look at the right person. So what we need to inventory here before we can get started and make this more subjective is the main reasons that we don't want to have hard conversations with team members, in my experience, is we don't have the we haven't set the foundation or the expectations of what it means to be a right person. So if we haven't created our core values, if we haven't discovered those as a leadership team, as an owner, and then communicated those down to your team, well, then how can they know if they're a right person for the team, whether they need to opt out or opt in way more because they love what you ultimately stand for, your core values? And so if we haven't communicated those, then your team member is walking blindly there. Same thing with the roles and responsibilities. If you don't have a structure chart that lines out exactly where this person fits in your organization, in your practice, then and what key roles, 5 key roles that they need to fulfill on a day in and day out basis, then they're also walking blind. So the tough conversations come when we don't have the core values in place and the structure chart in place. We don't know what a right person looks like, and we don't know what a right seat for that person looks like. And so 2 very simple back of the napkin ways that you can simplify and hopefully make those tough conversations a little easier moving forward is if you haven't created your core values, go through the core value creation process. This is something I can help you with. But if you already have your core values or you've just gone through the core value creation process, communicate those core values to all team members and ensure they have buy-in. And so to the degree that you can get buy-in or communicate those over and over, your team members will now know what a right person looks like in your practice. Secondly, is the structure chart. And this could be as easy as saying, hey, what are the main roles of our practice? And then what roles or seats do we need under each main role of the practice? And so what that allows you to do is it allows you to create the seats, the roles on your structure chart to know what you need, what seats you need on the bus, and the 5 key roles inside of each seat. And so to the degree that you can map those 5 key roles out, communicate that to each individual team member, then and have them get buy-in from those roles in that seat, well, then now you have a concoction of, well, I've explained to you and communicated to you, and you bought in on our core values. This is what we stand for. So you're a right person. And then you say you're a right person. And then we work together on the structure chart. Here's your seat. Here are the 5 key roles to let you know what you need to do to be successful in that position day in and day out. And you agreed to that. And so what that does is it creates this accountability structure that now you can go, and if they're not holding up one of the core values or if they're not performing in their seat, you can say, hey, team member, we both agreed that these were our core values and these were the roles that you were performing. Is that correct? And if they say yes, because they should, because when you initially communicated it out, there should have been this buy-in here, then that makes that objective conversation or that subjective conversation, that emotional conversation before an objective conversation, and one that you can have in a more accountability coaching manner, as opposed to maybe having the person feel like you're attacking them as a person. And so whenever you have the core values and the structure chart built out, we have the right what it means to be a right person in this practice, and what you need to do day in and day out to fulfill your seat and to be strong in that. And so then when ultimately, if something happens and the team member isn't performing on either, you can have an open, honest conversation about, hey, how can I help you live up to these core values? What coaching can I do for you? What coaching can we get? And then also, if they aren't performing on their seat roles, then how can I coach you? How can I get, what resources can I give to you to get you to where you need to be so that you can start performing day in and day out? And that's how you make sure that you have the right people in the right seats. And that's how you can have tough conversations, but make them more about the problem and not the person. We talked about that in a previous video. But that's something I just went through. We go through it day in and day out. But I just had a client that reached out to me on that. And so we just lined out their core values, lined out their structure chart, communicated those openly and honestly, and then the conversation got a lot easier. And so I just wanted to encourage you that if you haven't set out and discovered your core values and created a structure chart to figure out exactly who the right people in the right seats are for your practice, that can be an absolute game changer. So I just wanted to encourage you to look at that in your practice today. Go out and have an awesome day, and we'll talk soon.